Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. I was looking here at the dictionary, football in Spanish, football also in English. I was looking calcio in Italian, football in Portuguese. So many words, so many countries, so many languages, but only one meaning, football, which is behind every word. Estoy hablando un poco de que estaba ahora mismo mirando aquí el diccionario, la cantidad de etiquetas, de traducciones que tiene además el fútbol, pero sobre todo lo que tiene es un significado que es común y universal, ¿no? I remember the first time I'm a journalist, as David said, a sports journalist on ESPN, and I remember the first times that I was trying to develop my job. And I remember one of the sentences of one Atlético de Madrid player saying to me that football is going to change your life. Estaba comentando un poco que en mis inicios, yo cuando estaba en el Atlético de Madrid, o trabajando para cubrir el Atlético de Madrid, recuerdo uno de los jugadores entonces de la plantilla que me dijo, el fútbol te va a cambiar la vida. And he was right, he was right, he was right. Even my grandmother last night said to me that football is going to change your life, and football has changed your life. And I said, why? Maybe because I get paid for this. And she said, no, because it's the first time you're going to be on a suit for 2 days in a row. Well, that's really good as well. Estaba diciendo que eso, que también me ha cambiado la vida hasta tal punto que ayer mi abuela me decía que es la primera vez que voy a llevar un traje durante 2 días seguidos, así que también está bien. Welcome to the World Football Summit 19. We're going to have fun here. We're going to have interesting panels. We're going to have, during the day of today and tomorrow, so many interesting people. And I'm so excited. You know, I'm excited because this is going to be massive. This is going to be top, epic. This is going to be biblical. This is going to be... Okay, I'm going to stop. Les estoy comentando a la gente que habla en inglés que está todo tan bien organizado, que está todo tan milimétricamente detallado que va a ser un día espectacular el de hoy, el de mañana también. ¿Por qué? Porque hay muchas cosas, And before starting, I want you all to know some things that you should have in mind. Why am I with a cell phone here? This is really important. This is really important because you got an app, okay, the World Football Summit app that you can download in any Android or any iOS device, so you can networking with the rest of the people. Okay, this is really important because during the day you can have so many meetings, you can meet so many important people that it's very, very important that you to download this. Hay una app que es importantísima que bajéis porque aparte del tema de los horarios y aparte del tema del programa es fantástica por todo el networking que podéis hacer. Also, we have lunch tokens, okay? During the day, you go to the information desk and you can get any lunch tokens. So, food is important. This is going to be a long day, so you have to keep this in mind. También podéis tener los lunch tokens, es decir, los bonos para la comida, que además hemos mejorado el catering y que es importante porque va a ser un día tan largo que al final vamos a tener que también comer todos. Y es importantísimo que os quiero a todos nutridos, ¿vale? Once we're over this evening, we are going to have some beers, some refreshments, some water, whatever you want, supported by Budweiser at the green outside, right outside here. Once Javier Tebas is going to be over, we're going to have that networking beer, which is going to be important as well for you all, for the networking, which is, for me, the best thing of all. Después, en el momento en el que acabe Javier Tebas, que es el último ponente del día, también vamos a tener una especie como de networking en el green que estará apoyado por Budweiser y que además es importante también para el networking, que ahí es el momento en el que la gente ya se suelta más y, como digo yo, es cuando las relaciones fluyen mejor. And for those who are not attending to the industry awards, we have a social evening at the Retiro Park, which is great, green, right in the center of Madrid. And, those first 250 people who attend the first, we're gonna give you away a special gift, which is 1 free beer and 1 free tapas, which Spanish tapas are great. If you're in Spain for the first time, you have to try them. Luego, aparte del green que comentamos de Budweiser, tenemos también una especie de networking en el Retiro Park para todos aquellos que no estén dentro de la comitiva de los Industry Awards, para que también hagan networking allí. Es más, los 250 primeros miembros que estáis por aquí del World Football Summit, que lleguéis, tenéis una cerveza gratis y una tapa. And apart from this stage, this is the main stage, we have 2 more stages. We have the Prisa Noticias stage and we have the WFS stage. You have all the schedule and all the timings on the app, so this is really important for you to download the app. Aparte tenemos un par de escenarios más. Este es el escenario principal, el main stage, así que si queréis también en la app podéis comprobar el resto de ponencias que hay en los otros dos escenarios, que el escenario Prisa Noticias y el escenario World Football Summit. As I said before, the great thing about football is that you can find football everywhere, anywhere, and to be played by anyone. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're in Paris, in Brazil, if you come from Asia, Africa, it doesn't really matter, because you can find, this sport anywhere. And the good thing of all is that this World Football Summit is going to take place here in Madrid, which is one of the most footballistic places, or one of the most footballistic cities I've ever been to. I'm not from here, I'm from the north of Spain, a small town which is Gijón, and the best thing of Madrid, I can tell you, is this. I mean, you can smell the sports, the football. It doesn't really matter if you support Atlético de Madrid, Real Madrid, Getafe, Leganés. I mean, you get so many teams here in this town that is amazing to have World Football Summit here. And that's why I'm going to introduce the first panel of the morning based on this. Estoy contando que, bueno, para los que seáis españoles ya sabéis lo que es Madrid, ya sabéis la importancia que tiene Madrid para el fútbol español y también para el fútbol mundial, para el fútbol europeo, así que es el escenario ideal para introducir este primer panel que a continuación voy a contar los ponentes y que va a ser una mesa moderada por Joaquin de Arístegui. Así que I'm going to introduce the rest of the members of the panel. They're networking right now with the app, okay? So that's why it's so important. So, Marta, are we ready? Not yet. Okay. Well, that's a good thing of all. That's why we're live. Now, this is going to be a panel based on, every sports event organized in every city. Like, for example, here in Madrid, this is about football, but this is also about so many things, tourism, promotion. And I want you all to know what is going to be about Madrid. Estoy diciendo ahora mismo que el tema de este tipo de eventos, con la promoción, con el tema turístico, con el marketing, networking, la cantidad de gente que viene a Madrid para reunirse, es importante este tipo de eventos, pero sobre todo también es importante para la ciudad, primero como altavoz y segundo también como canalizador de todas estas ideas y también estos intereses. Así que, please welcome Gerard, Tsobanian, Javier Alonso, Kristick, Óscar, Mayo, and the moderator, Joaquin de Arístegui. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Todo bien? Hello. Morning. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Hello. So, Joaquin, we were talking about the importance of Madrid, as a footballistic capital of the world right now, and the sports. So, over to you.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Good morning, everybody. Buenos días. First of all, I would like to make a brief introduction of the high-level top speakers we have on the roundtable today. You have, of course, all the details on their CVs on your program. First of all, on John Kristick, he has over 25 years of experience working on the management, sales, marketing of major sports properties and events, and he's currently the president of Premier Partnerships. The most interesting thing, I think, for what we are going to discuss today is that he has been involved since 1994, I believe, in every single FIFA World Cup, be it in terms of bidding, sponsorship, or marketing support, and we will discuss that later. He has a lot to say, and he's very much responsible for the success of the United 2026 bid for Mexico, Canada, and the US. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Óscar Mayo is executive agent at the chairman's office of LaLiga, and most importantly for our roundtable today, he's the person in charge of international development and networking of LaLiga. So he will be able to provide us with a lot of insight on probably one of the most successful businesses, international sports businesses of Spain. Javier Alonso is well known for his protagonism in bringing to many countries, including Spain, MotoGP during his time in Dorna Sports. But now he's CEO of Kosmos Tennis. He's very much related to the new Davis Cup, the revamped Davis Cup, which was, I believe, launched in October last year. when we had the draw, and has been recently formally presented in New York about 10 days ago. So we would be very interested in knowing more about this project. That will be launched, that will be presented in Madrid. And finally, Gerard Tsobanian. Bonjour, Gerard.
Bonjour.
He's very much connected to Madrid. He is the CEO and president of the Mutua Madrid Open, which is, as you know, the Masters 1000 tennis tournament, ATP tournament in Madrid in Spain. But further to that, I would like to point out a couple of issues. One, he's also responsible for bringing the Spain Open, Golf Spain Open to Madrid also. That will be organized during the next 5 years, starting this October. And he has also a lot of experience in terms of sports and values through his connection with UNESCO and the inclusion of women. So welcome, gentlemen. I would suggest we divide this roundtable basically into two parts. The first would be, I will share with you 3 or 4 general questions that we can debate on the main topic that is before us, and then I will ask you some specific questions so you can provide us with your experience, with your expertise on them. And the first question would be, what is Sportainment capital? I mean, we're here to discuss, to analyze Madrid as a Sportainment capital. So I would first ask you, in your view, what does a city need to have in order to be considered as a Sportainment capital? Second would be, how have sporting events changed in recent times, and what effects have those changes had on Sportainment in terms of organization? What do we need now because of those changes to make sure that a Sportainment event is a success? Third question would be, if you could identify from your experience the added value of Madrid as a Sportainment capital. Madrid specifically, it has a very long tradition in terms of sports and of major sports events, but in more broad terms, even Spain. What are their added values in our days in order to be recognized as an attraction magnet for companies, for businesses, and in general terms for the public opinion? And the final question would be, if we could analyze together, Sportainment is an industry, yes, it's a necessary business, yes, there's a huge demand from all the economic and social actors, but is it sustainable? We in Spain believe that the sustainability of sports industries is key for the medium to long term, and I take this opportunity now to explain briefly that I'm a Director General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Development Cooperation of Spain, and I am in charge of helping the Deputy Minister for España Global, which is the Spanish agency in charge of watching over, protecting, and promoting the reputation of Spain. In that context, we believe sports is a major strength of Spain at all levels, state, regional, and local. And with regard to the last question, we believe that the future of Sportainment, of sport industry, is closely connected to the development goals and sustainability. So, it's all to you, gentlemen. Who wants to start?
What was the question?
First question, what does a city need to be a sport capital?
If you want, I start. I live here now 19 years, so I've been quite involved in the life in Madrid and how it developed over the years. I think what is important is not only to stage an interesting event, but is to have things around that the city offers to the people that come, so that they can enjoy cultural heritage that the city has, maybe gastronomic offerings also, and the history that the city has over the years. So I believe that that's important, the package, so that the people come and they have a long weekend and not just go to the tennis, or in my case, enjoy 1-2 days in tennis, but they have things to do around the tennis subject, and we can offer them a lot of attractive activities that are not just concentrated on tennis, and they discover through the event, the sport event, an interesting city that offers much more than the sport event, and that's the key. I think that's why the cities want to stage big international events, is to attract tourists, and through the sport event, the tourists discover the many positive aspects the city has to offer.
Yep, I would certainly reinforce that, and I think we're at such an exciting time right now with sports events, mainly because of where we live in society today with technology. There are so many different ways that events and hosts are able to engage with people of like minds and interest, and ultimately that's what sport is about. It's about passion, it's about a like mind and set of interests that bring people together. But it is not just the event itself, and as you mentioned, whether it's the culture, whether it's the events that surround it. And what's great about a city like Madrid and many other parts of the world who have the infrastructure already in place, and to be able to use the technology and really engage with those people who are coming to visit, it just makes it much more of a fulfilling time when they come to the event, they look forward to the event, and then when they leave with very good memories.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that when we talk about the capital for Sportainment, it's not that a city who can be preparing during 2 years to one event. It's a city with the experience enough to doing the weekend by weekend, year by year event with a high quality of successful and with all the context, tourism, city, infrastructure, ready to do any events that we can think to have here in Madrid with high excellence.
Yeah, thinking about Davis Cup this year will bring 18 nations to Madrid and people from all over the world. When we had to take the decision together with the ITF where to host the first 2 editions of that competition, we had offers from Asia, we have offers from Europe, we have offers from the United States. But at the end of the day, Madrid was bringing to us everything that we needed, because it was in Europe, which is important as a starting point for a sport like Davis Cup, like tennis, where the heart of the sport is in Europe. But not only that, Madrid is a huge capital with a lot of infrastructure, with a lot of cultural offer, as Gerard was saying, that we can offer to all these people that are coming from places like Japan or Kazakhstan or Russia or United States, Canada. So it is very important that the package, the experience that we can package for a big event like Davis Cup or like all other events is at this level, where people can come here and experience not only the sport, but also the city, the cultural, all the cultural aspects that Madrid has and Spain has, that a lot of people are wanting to learn about it. So that is very important.
Thank you. On the issue of sustainability, what would be your take on this? Do you think we already need to add this into the formula for Sportainment capital? I mean, we have the experience of the Barcelona Olympics. We tend to believe that many of the things that happened after '92 in terms of innovating major sports event started in Barcelona, or at least some of the first experiences were launched there, including those related to sustainable development and environment. Do you think this will be a key issue in the future, in the short term? Do we have time?
Personally, I think it's a fundamental part of any property's strategy for identifying hosts and how they are organizing their events, is that sustainability theme that's running through it. Coming from my more recent experience on the bid for the World Cup for Canada, Mexico, and the US, that was kind of an underpinning of our bid. It was based on certainty. It was based on the fact that facilities were already in place that were able to be updated slightly or put forward as they are today, all ready to stage the event without having to incur a tremendous amount of new investment around capital costs and things of that sort. So to me, being able to make best use of the facilities we have, slight adaptations, and introducing as much sustainable principles around it, whether it's on the environment or in whether other key areas, is the future and something we should all take advantage of.
I think that is not going to be a key, has to be obligatory when we think about any events or any capital of Sportainment we cannot think in any event that has not to be sustainable. And Madrid, one of his best force is that we have all the infrastructure ready to do this type of events without thinking to do a big investment before or for any specific event.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, in the world, there are different models for big events like the ones we are talking about today. And it is very important that this model works. Sometimes that model incorporates public investment, sometimes it doesn't. But when it incorporates public investment, it's important that it is really sustainable, that everything that public side of the government are doing to promote those events is recouped in some way. Okay, so I think in that respect, the experience that we are having with Madrid during all this last year, they are really professional on understanding the investment that they are doing and everything that they are getting back from that investment. And I think that this is very important. We have a lot of examples of sports that have not been sustainable, going to places and failing, okay? So that is something that we need to work a little bit harder on. Yeah.
But you know, on the sustainability topic, I mean, it really does take the responsibility of the event owners to really set and drive that strategy, working with all the stakeholders around the city, because sustainability, it's an overused term, and it covers so many different things, you know, but there are ways that simple things can be addressed, whether it's transportation. How are people utilizing public transportation to come and go, reduce driving individual cars? How are we managing waste as it relates to the events themselves, and putting all those programs in place, you know, supply chain management, where are they procuring local products from so that they were able to utilize, you know, local retailers and local producers and everything else. All of that fits into your sustainability strategy. But the good news is big events are thinking about this now. Cities are more prepared to plug in programs that they're already doing, and sport lets you showcase the success of this. So I really hope this is something that events continue to embrace, because I think it's what the fans want, it's what the consumers want. The younger generation, this is the way they're being brought up, and they're expecting it of us as the event managers.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the promoter's responsibility to act in that direction and to make it a reality. I think it's a fashion now to talk about sustainability and to say let's be eco-friendly and etc. But one thing is to talk about it, and one thing is to really act and be efficient. I like the bid of Paris when they said, look, we're going to use a lot of the monuments or buildings that exist already in Paris for the Olympic Games, and that was, I think, a big advantage. That's why they were so attractive for the Olympic Games 2024. So in our case here, it's true that the local government built a new stadium just to stage our combined event, and with the view of staging then the Olympic Games. But the important thing is to use that facility all year long, and unfortunately it's not been perfectly managed, the Caja Mágica in Madrid, but it's not only we cannot push only the responsibility to the local government. The promoter or the people staging the events have to be really active and responsible to be efficient and to use all the supports that exist nowadays to make it also eco-friendly.
Sure. Maybe the minimum we could aim at is that the relevance, the media and public opinion relevance of main sports event is a good opportunity to raise awareness, because that's something that is basically free, and it's a great opportunity because the debate is there, it's out there. So I think that's the minimum we could agree on, that it's something that needs to be done during those specific events. Okay, now on more specific matters, I wanted to ask you, Óscar, about the experience of LaLiga, because well, I've been stationed abroad and I've followed the evolution of your company, and I think it's fair to say that, as I mentioned at the beginning, LaLiga is probably the most visible international sports company of Spain. I believe you already have 9 or 10 or even more offices around the world. your products are seen in
200 countries.
200 resident offices?
We have offices in 9 countries,
Yeah.
and later we have presence with 1 or 2 employees in 50 countries.
Sure. Plus, basically, LaLiga is seen in almost every single country of the UN. There are 193. You're almost there. So could you tell us a bit more about your experience, how you've been able to become a major actor abroad?
So 5 years ago, we understood that if we want to continue being competitive, and if we want to be able to continue growing faster than our competitors, we need to become globally, because the market in Spain is what it is. If we talk in other industries, could be simple. The market in your national market is already mature, so you have to go abroad. So we started this strategy 5 years ago, because the way that we have to improve our revenues, TV revenues mainly, is globally, and is the way to continue giving our fans globally and in Spain the best spectacle as possible, and the best stadiums, the best players, everything. So we started 5 years ago, and we think that now we are starting to see the results, how we are growing in all the KPIs faster than our competitors.
And in this regard, what are the must markets that you're aiming at now?
We have been working in different markets with different strategies. I think that we have an opportunity to continue growing significantly in all Asia markets, because historically we have been playing 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, so it was too late there. Now with the change in the schedule strategy, we have a good opportunity to increase significantly in all the Southeast Asia and China. But we have to continue working the rest of the markets. US is a really, really interesting market with a really big opportunity to increase in the future, with a World Cup coming, with the interest of football growing. And in America, where we have a strong position, we have to continue growing to keep this position. And Africa, football is growing, the interest of football. And Africa and Middle East, the interest of football is quite big. So to have a strong position there against Premier League and other competitors is a challenge. So we have to continue working there to keep our position and to growing at the same level or the same time that we are growing now.
And finally on this, John, what's happening with the US? I mean, you're going to be organizing the second World Cup in the US. Do you think after the second World Cup, joint regional North American World Cup, the US is finally going to join Europe and the Asian markets, or what's happening? Where's the secret?
That's a big question. I mean, obviously we're thrilled to have the World Cup back, which will almost be 30 years plus since it was there in '94. And it really was a united effort across the 3 countries to meet the FIFA requirements. I mean, the sport in the US, it's a sophisticated market. I think in some regards it's probably one of the more sophisticated soccer markets in the world. There's so many different entry points for people to embrace it. And I think what this World Cup will really bring is a bit of a North Star effect, that over the next 6 to 7 years, you're going to see the World Cup being able to rise across many different facets of this sport, whether it's LaLiga, whether it's the MLS, which is the domestic league, whether it's the national team programs or any other. I joke, our offices in New York City are on at Grand Central Terminal, and within probably a kilometer in either direction down Park Avenue, there are more international clubs and leagues with offices now established because they see the opportunity that's in that market for this sport. And I think success will come to many, but ultimately it'll be soccer that is the big winner.
Okay, back to you now, Javier. I'm very curious to know, maybe you can give us some of the reasons. First, if you could elaborate more on the new format of the Davis Cup, and also if you could let us know what was the final reason behind choosing Madrid as the sea for this event, which is probably one of the most relevant in the past years.
I mean, I start by the second question. The reason to start in Madrid, as I said before, we had offers from overseas and outside Europe. we, together with the ITF, decided that the first two editions would have to be in Europe. And at that time, we had a strong offer from Lille in France and Madrid. And they were different. I mean, it was a good offer from Lille, but Lille is a city that it's a small city in France, very well connected by train to Paris, but it's not a capital of a country like Madrid is. So we had an easy decision to take there. I have also to say that the relationship with both institutions, with the City Hall and with the region of Madrid, was very easy. They put everything they could to host that first edition of the Davis Cup. And this is the reason why we are here, because Madrid did a great effort on the bidding process, putting down an offer that we could not say no to it. Regarding the format, I mean, we have one of the persons that works in our team is Albert Costa. Albert Costa won the Davis Cup as a player and as a captain. And when he was a player, he was already complaining on the format of Davis Cup. Mm-hmm. So Davis Cup needed a reform. Davis Cup is the second oldest team competition in sport after the Olympics. And it has 120 years, and it has changed 3 times since it was founded in 1900. So it was very complicated for the people to follow tennis, Davis Cup, because if, for example, last year Spain was, it went through semifinals in France against France. The finals in Spain, nobody followed the finals because it was France against Croatia. So that was a huge problem in terms of repercussion of the Davis Cup. This year we'll have 80 countries, as I said before, playing against each other for a week. So the dimension of the week, it's going to be huge. That's number one. In terms of the sport itself, and it is always very important that the sport is treated well in a competition. So it's not a show, it's a sport competition. The tennis player had big difficulties to play Davis Cup, because to play Davis Cup, they had to commit at least 6 to 8 weeks a year. The tennis calendar is already very condensed, so what happened is that the big stars never played Davis Cup, or very little. So with this change, we are helping, at the end of the day, the tennis players to be able to compete for their country, to defend the colors of their country. And we have had a very positive response in general. Of course, changes are seen difficult sometimes, but we are going to have a lot or almost all the top tennis players that are eligible for that competition in Madrid in November. So we are very happy with this change.
Thank you. Gerard, so we discussed before, you mentioned you're the person behind the Mutua Open and the upcoming golf. But the question now is, I understand the benefits for Madrid hosting these events, but could you explain a bit more from the business perspective, what is the interchange of the exchange of benefits on both sides for your company doing this in Madrid? What are the benefits for your company?
Well, the benefit is always making business, no, sure. And not losing money.
Sure.
But I think I would like to tell a little bit. When I came here to talk to the city officials 19 years ago, the motivation for Madrid was to stage a big sports event to bring back the attention to the capital of Spain. And that's how I felt it, how I saw it, because if you remember, Barcelona was, after the Olympic Games, a little bit taking the center stage of, in Spain, of the most attractive city in the country, and they had that. And I think Madrid, when I discussed with the people here 19 years ago, I felt that they wanted to make a point and bring back the attention to the capital, which was for them important. So they wanted first to bid for the Olympic Games and to stage a big event in Madrid to publicize this thing. Following that, Madrid was making a lot of efforts to stage other events or seminars or conferences, etc., just to attract again attention and media attention and business attention to the capital. I think they have been growing on that stage, and that the attractiveness for me talking here was that motivation behind this idea from the city officials, because nowadays, and I think all the colleagues would agree, if you cannot stage a big event in one city without the support of the local authorities. It's not possible. It's too much investment and a bigger burden, economic burden to be just carried by the promoter. So if the local government is motivated and willing, then business can be made. It can be a win-win relationship. And coming back to your question, it has to be a win-win relationship. Otherwise, it lasts for 1 year or 2 years, and then gracias a Dios, let's go somewhere else. So even though win-win in sports is not the rule, no, it's always one winner in sports. There is no win-win. Both sides cannot win in sports. There is always a one. But in this case, for staging an event, it has to be seen as a partnership with the local authorities. And the motivation here to come here was definitely a long tradition in tennis that started not a few years ago, but many years ago with Manolo Santana and so on in the 60s. So Spain has been and was already giving very strong signs that tennis is a strong sport. They had many high-level competitors even before Nadal winning Grand Slams and so on. There is a long list of champions coming from Spain. So this motivated and made the case stronger to come to Spain and to Madrid particularly, and it facilitated the business. Now then, the model that we developed is now famous and respected worldwide, but it's a challenge always. The first years you have to invest. It's like any business, and we were ready to do that. And it went well. So Spain is a strong economy now in Europe, particularly, and the bid was positive.
Thank you. Last question, because I start to feel the pressure of the organizers of this wonderful 4th edition of the World Football Summit. Take the opportunity to congratulate them and thank them for the support. John, so we have the first 3-country World Cup after several experiences with 2 countries. So is this the trend? I mean, is this the future of FIFA World Cup? 3 countries, regional?
I think that's a fair assumption. I think obviously largest ever World Cup with 48 teams and 80 matches puts an incredible amount of work and stress on any host country. So I think part of this model and part of the approach that was applied for 2026 is to demonstrate how joint bids could truly work with this new the new format that's going forward. And I think this template that hopefully will be successful will also enable future co-hosts of countries that on their own may never be able to host a 48-team competition, because just in terms of the facilities and the resources that you'd have to put behind it, I think it is better, and I think it's a positive trend that's moving towards more shared resources across countries, because that way it doesn't put that onus of having to build a lot of new facilities and a lot of new stadiums on one country. So it should be more of a shared model.
And the fact that it's a multicultural, Spanish, French, English speaking is also a key?
It's beautiful. That's the way it should be. I think that's the way the game's meant to be enjoyed. So I think that's what sits at the heart of the World Cup, the Davis Cup, other major international events, is to bring the different populations together.
Very well. So now I give you, if you want to raise any other issue or if you want to further elaborate on any other topic before we close, we wrap up.
No. Certainly want to thank you for having us. And what Gerard said, I think, is so key in terms of, the events, the sophisticated events today. They can't be just a single promoter, who's looked to carry all the weight to make these successful. It does require all the different stakeholders across the city and a state and a country to make these successful. And I think that's the trend you're seeing, and the best hosts are going to get that right.
Okay.
I think that it's proof that Madrid, we are ready to host the best events as possible, and now with the Copa Davis, with the Mutua Madrid Open, with the final of Champions League last year, and many events that is happening here, our next challenge is to be able to host the Olympics. So that is the challenge.
It is. Well, I have to say on that, Óscar, that I've been a volunteer in Barcelona. It was my first diplomatic assignment back in '92, and I've been a volunteer in every single bit, so I certainly not lose hope, and I'm sure we will have Olympics in Madrid someday. Yeah. Anything else? No. Okay, so thank you very much for all your insight and your comments. Another thing I would like to mention before closing is that from a government perspective, I think it's also important, and I know I'm speaking to a convinced audience. You're all professionals in the area of sports industry and business, but I think there's an additional effort to make from governments in terms to attribute the real importance of sports as a tool for diplomatic, public diplomacy. It's easy to do that when you have an Olympic, when you have a major event like Mutua, or you have a bid, or you have a FIFA World Championship, or the Davis Cup, or any of the events that a major player like LaLiga organizes. But I think it should be continued, and we should aim at having governments realize that sports, it's a major issue for nowadays society. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much to the audience for their attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joaquin. I have only one thing to tell you. Madrid is amazing. Thank you very much for having this city and for having us here. Thank you very much. Well, this has been the first panel. It's been amazing, as I told you before. Este ha sido el primer panel. Ya les he dicho que aquí lo que prometemos lo cumplimos. Before moving on, we have to say hello to Nomusa Dube and Cuba, because next year World Football Summit is going to take place as well for the first time ever in Africa. It's going to be held in South Africa. So please welcome Nomusa Dube and Cuba de parte del gobierno. No sé si está por ahí, Don Musa. Bueno, está por ahí, ahora viene porque tiene muchas cosas que enseñarnos, sobre todo para la gente que habláis en castellano. La próxima temporada el World Football Summit va a tener también una sede en Durban, en Sudáfrica, que va a ser la primera vez que este tipo de eventos llegue a África. Así que tenemos a una de las principales responsables del gobierno sudafricano que está por aquí. Bienvenida, Nusa Dube Nkube. Over to you. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Over to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Program Director. Ladies and gentlemen, I do wish to acknowledge Marianne and the organizers and the members of the World Football Summit, the whole team of the global authorities of Madrid community. I also wish to acknowledge all the delegates that are present here, everybody this morning. First of all, let me take this opportunity to express our appreciation on behalf of our President of the Republic of South Africa, as well as our President, His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, as well as my ambassador who is here with us, ambassador to South Africa. I must also say that it is a great honor for us as South Africa, as KwaZulu-Natal, to represent South Africa on this very prestigious event. Our Premier, Mr. Zikalala, has also asked us to convey a message of appreciation for being selected to host the next Football Summit in 2020 in our country, in our province. We wish to really say we are overwhelmed by the enthusiastic response and the interest that we have shown by the football-loving family across the globe. We sincerely hope that we will have numbers of visitors that will come to KwaZulu-Natal, that will come to South Africa, that will increase, and we are convinced that the 2020 World Football Summit will eventually become one of the most important and a must-see attend event that is going to be held in the global event. Ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the 2020 World Football Summit as a platform on which we wished as KwaZulu-Natal to synergize and make friends. We want to promote partnerships, while at the same time, our intention is to ensure that we work together to develop soccer. We also want to facilitate the twinning arrangements between the soccer, KwaZulu-Natal soccer clubs, academic institutions, cities, as well as part of creating the new generation of soccer stars. As government, we are in search of the world's best practices in improving the governance in our soccer. We are also serious about promoting good governance and sound soccer administration at all levels. And I'm glad that the panel that have just finished talking here, we're talking about improvement of governance at all levels, be they national level, provincial level, as well as local level. The football study tours that we did in various countries before our 2010 legacy project of the World Cup required that we had extensive training and experience in the soccer administration. These included the planning, the implementation, the training basis for soccer teams, the community development, the lease agreement, the infrastructure development, the media ticketing, as well as the academies. I must hasten to say that through these exchanges, we've been able to have continuous coaching agreements. We have right now with Brazil about 13 coaches that continues to work with the Rio de Janeiro under the guidance of Luis Greco. Following a successful program under the coaches, we are now able to coach the Premier Soccer teams and the league. As sports becomes increasingly part of the development in our country, as well as part of the corporate social responsibility of the private sector. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, that in different role players across the globe, we come together to share the ideas and to understand each other better and develop common definition and framework for action in order to ensure that through soccer, we are able to make an impact in our society. Well-designed sports, physical activity programs are a powerful tool for fostering healthy child, individual development, teaching positive mind, positive values, life skills, strengthening education, preventing disease, particularly the HIV and AIDS, as well as other social ills that still engulf our community. Further, today in South Africa, we recognize sports as internationally recognized sport-loving country in the world. Over the years in South Africa, we have excelled as individuals in many sporting codes, such as boxing, soccer, swimming, athletics, and various other codes that you've seen many South Africans excelling in those codes. Our teams from diverse sporting codes have been competing in the world stage. We are very proud as KwaZulu-Natal that we are also home to the world-class longest and most respected ultra-marathon, the Comrades Marathon, which runs between the cities of Durban and Pietermaritzburg annually. The Comrades Marathon has grown internationally its reputation and stature. We've also added another ultra-marathon called the Nelson Mandela Marathon, which finishes at the Nelson Mandela capture site where Nelson Mandela was captured before he spent the 27 years in prison. We continue to lobby international conferences, sporting tournaments to be hosted in our outstanding facilities and resorts as well as utilizing the twinning arrangements with other countries to promote our destination in all the corners of the world. We are therefore very grateful that we are given this opportunity to host you, ladies and gentlemen, in the 2020 World Football Summit. We want to arrange more exchange programs around international teams, and we are determined to ensure that collaborations, sharing of expertise, development of specialist sports academies with our province, with our country, will remain a legacy program. Following the successful hosting of the 2010 World Cup, role players in sport academy, private sector and non-profit organizations have continued to work with our young people and increasingly interested in the potential soccer as a tool to reach personal and community as well as national and international development of our young people. They are also interested in how soccer can be used as a tool to address some of the socio-economic challenges we are facing in the land of Nelson Mandela. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish to thank you very much once more for allowing us the opportunity to host the next 2020 World Football Summit in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal, and we wish to promise you that we will be welcoming you warmly in our kingdom of the Zulu nation, in style and in our profession. And you would know, some of you that were there during the 2010 World Cup, that we did everything in style, in profession, and with wonderful people that give you all the warmth, the smile, the professional welcome that you are going to be receiving once more. We look forward to welcoming all of you in South Africa in 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sport has the power to change the world.
Well, can't wait. Thank you very much. Can't wait for the World Football Summit in Africa for the first time ever. Do you know what's the future of European club competitions here in Europe? Like, for example, Champions League is in danger. ¿Sabéis del posible peligro que puede cometer o que puede peligrar ahora mismo vivir, en este caso, la Champions League? Do you know what's the ECA, the European Club Association? Okay, in 10 minutes, we're going to start here a Q&A with a very interesting ideas and with very, very, very great panel. So, 10-minute break and we'll be back, okay? Thank you very much. En 10 minutos volvemos. Gracias.